back for the second segment of the first day, the ladies' day of the Breeders' Cup, and we're going to go into filly and mare turf. And yeah, I'm not a morning line maker, and if I was, I might be the worst one in the country. But I have to tell you, I'd like to get the morning line on the I think it's third choice in this race, midday morning line, who looks to me, the European, like she has to be favored in what is a very, very subpar running of this race, especially if Forever Together isn't the filly she was last year when she won this race. The bottom line is Midday has good European form. I know Rainbow View disappointed up in Canada, but she drowned that one in the Nassau. She ran well enough in the Prix de l'Opera. If Midday shows up with her best game, which is a question mark, because these Euros you never really know, if she shows up with her A game, she will drown this field.
This is a two-horse race. It's between Midday and Forever Together. It's sort of, a lot of people have been saying that Forever Together is off this year. I'm not sure I agree with that if you look at her form. She doesn't like a soft, yielding course. Her bad race this year was the First Lady. She ran third. It was a very strangely run race, if you can remember. Philly ran off in that race. They had to come down and track her. I think Forever Together might be a notch below last year, but I don't think she's a lot of a notch. But we can see her to the Diana.
Yeah, her Diana was a visually impressive win, and I give her a ton of credit the way she did it. But the second horse had a perfect trip. The second horse is Caribbean Sunset, and Rutharian is down there, is in this race. She's down there in third, and you know, she had a tough trip, and she could have won this race. I don't know. I like Forever Together as a horse, and I agree with you. She's the second likeliest winner simply because of the weakness of the other horses in the race. But the bottom line is that, to me, she hung on the money in Canada. She's supposed to have beaten the horse that beat her that day, who was not much horse. Last time out, I thought she should have had more punch. Maybe the firmer turf will help her. I have my question marks. The problem is Magical Fantasy, who is one of the favorites morning line at a shorter price than Midday on some California bias, which I don't really understand because, as far as I know, people are betting this race from all over the world, if not the country, so there shouldn't be a bias in the betting. Here's Visit in front of her, and Visit has just had every chance to win in every possible way. And Magical Fantasy is a neat horse, and she's the California horse in that she overcomes slow paces. She seems to get things done in her races. She's just not that good.
And one of the other interesting aspects of this race is that there's absolutely no pace. Right. None whatsoever. Dynaforce is going to be on the lead. DeSormo is going to have her on the lead. And if Dynaforce was in any kind of form, I would say she might have a shot in this race, you know, to do kind of like what Intercontinental did. But Dynaforce is not running well, so she's going to have the lead fairly easily. Visit's going to be close up, but the one advantage Midday has over Forever Together is she's going to be closer. Mm-hmm. So Forever Together is going to be, you know, behind a dawdling pace way back. That's what she did last year, so maybe she could do it again. But I think it's a two-horse race, and I side with you on Midday.
Yeah, I like Midday a lot in here. Now we're going to move on to the fifth race of Ladies' Day, and it is actually one of the races that I'm looking forward to. It's the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, and obviously you know, we have a big favorite that's tough in here, and two favorites, a first and second choice that are both tough here because they're both good sprinters and they're both good in the synthetics. Obviously, Ventura, who won this race last year, she's going to take a ton of beating. She had a very good setup last time, and here she is winning last year over Indian Blessing, who's not a synthetic horse, but she had a very good setup in Canada when she went off the layoff. And I don't know that Fennerly, who finished second to her, is any monster, but she still ran very well. She handles the surface, and she's just the horse to beat. I'm picking against her, but I'm not going to be surprised when she wins.
I despise picking favorites. I can't find anyone that can beat Ventura in here. Informed decision, maybe, but I'm not convinced that she has a chance here to beat Ventura. I mean, the way that Ventura ran off last year on this course was extremely impressive. She's 2 for 2 over this course. She's the best filly in the race. The only hope is, you know, you went with 7th Street. If 7th Street or Sarah Louise can take to the synthetic, I think they have a chance to beat Ventura, but I refuse to play these horses coming from the dirt to the synthetic.
Yeah, you know, you don't want to get into an I refuse mode in any horse playing you're doing because you're saying it. The morning line on 7th Street is 4 to 1. If she's 4 to 1, I wouldn't bet her. But I don't think she's going to be 4 to 1. I think she's going to be 7 or 8 to 1. So you have to say to yourself, what is the price that makes a horse worth betting? And here is 7th Street winning the Go for One at Saratoga in adverse conditions in the rain. I like 7th Street as a horse. I don't think she's a monster. But one of the reasons I don't think that she has run as fast as she could have is I think she's a better sprinter than a router. And I think it was more a situation of there being opportunities available for her to run and get grade 1s in these route races where the division wasn't that strong. And they did it. But her Barbara Fritchie might be her best race when she got left 100 lengths in there, and she still ran second. I agree. There's a huge question whether she will handle the synthetics, and I don't know that she will, but I think she's going to be 7 or 8 to 1, and I'll have no problem betting her at that price. I know she's going to have to run well to beat Ventura and Informed Decision. These are good horses, but the price can dictate my play. I'm not going to marry myself and say I refuse to bet these horses until I've seen the prices.
The way I'm going to try and make money in this race is not you're going to try and use some of the dirt horses if they are a price. I'm going to try and get a horse like Silver Swallow, who has never been out of the money on this course. I'm going to try and get her maybe into second or third. You got to get a price somehow. Never been off the board, 5 races sprinting on the synthetic. With horses in here that have never been on synthetic, I'll take a chance with her. And also, the longest shot on the board, Free Flying Soul. There's not a ton of pace in here. From the rail, she could get a little bit comfortable in front. She's 50-1, maybe get her in third or fourth. I see that you disagree.
I think you're insane. I don't just disagree. I think they should probably put a straitjacket on you. I hear what you're saying, but you're talking about a horse that finished behind Evita Argentina in her last race and defending her because she ran against bad fields and hit the board. Maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to try to get the turn back in. I need to get at least one turn back home.
I prefer Silver Swallow to her. So.
Okay, we'll make a head-to-head bet on that later, and now we go to the big one, the big Ladies Classic. And, of course, this race is minus Zenyatta, who's going to be running in the Classic. We'll get to that later. And Dan's very excited because there's a Ladies Classic double, and Dan's going to use that opportunity to spend 8 seconds telling us who he likes in the Classic. But of course, I think to me, this is basically a 2-horse race. Because you've got probably the better older filly, Music Note, who finished third last year, and Careless Jewel. I like Careless Jewel. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's not going to handle the synthetics, but she did up at Woodbine. Maybe she's I Want Revenge, and she just improved when she got to the dirt. Here she is winning the Diana. I think she's a very, very talented. I'm sorry, the Alabama, I'm a little off on my races. This is her winning the Alabama and crushing a field. And obviously, it was a weak field, but she looked like she was ready to take on Rachel Alexandra after this race. Whether or not she's good in synthetics, I don't know. She handled them at Woodbine. I believe she's the best horse in here, and I believe she's going to win.
I think she would have beaten Rachel Alexandra in the Alabama if Rachel was in that race. I mean, that was an incredible race. I'm going to try and find a price in here. I'm going to take a stand against the favorites. I think both of them have certain things working against them. Music Note, I think she's in a lot better form than she was last year. She's a little bit fresher. However, last year, we see her here in the Beldame. Last year, it didn't look like she loved the synthetic.
I agree.
So I think that she's playable against her. Careless Jewel, her first 3 races were on the synthetic. She ran pretty well. She didn't run as well as she did in the Delaware Oaks and the Alabama. I know they were her first 3 races. I think she's got a good chance to wire this field. There's not a ton of speed. But if you look at a filly like Mushka, she's 2 for 2 on the synthetic. Empire Maker has been brilliant on synthetic surfaces. I really think that she's got a good chance to upset this race. We're going to see here Mushka and Proviso. And Proviso ended up coming out, getting in Mushka's way. Proviso won. She was taken down and put into second. But Mushka's a filly. She's going to have the pace working against her. There's not a lot of pace in the Ladies Classic. But I think she's very talented on the synthetic. And if she's close to her 12-1 morning line, I think she's the horse that you kind of have to take a shot on.
Yeah, I don't like her at all. I don't want Proviso, second-time European in the country, and I don't think Mushka's very good. Thought she won this race. Was a very, very weak field last time. Maybe I'm wrong, but to hope that both Music Note and Careless Jewel don't show up and they get them in, that's more hoping than I can do. I hear what you're saying, and that's fine. She's a price. I think the logical horses one of these 2 horses are going to win. I'm not going to be too clever. That does it for our handicapping this. Very quickly, give us your Classic pick.
Well, for this daily double with the Ladies Classic and the Classic, use Mushka, Proviso, some of those horses. And then I think in the Classic, Einstein, Richards, Kid, the horses that have proved they like the surface, maybe Gio Ponte.
Boy, am I glad that Dan won't be doing the Breeders' Cup, the big day Breeders' Cup with me, but we appreciate Dan helping us out with this. Eric Donovan and I will be back with 2 segments on Saturday's Breeders' Cup races, so come back and watch those segments as well.